Today is a glorious Thursday, and I'm absolutely buzzing with excitement to dive into the latest drama unfolding in Port Charles. Grab your favorite mug of Corinthos coffee, settle in, and let us talk about the absolute masterclass in soapy tension we have been blessed with this week. I feel so incredibly electrified by the brewing war between Brooklyn Quartermaine Chase and Willow Kane because, to me, it finally proves that the writers are entirely committed to blowing up this canvas in the most spectacular way possible. I know a lot of people are saying this storyline is dragging, or that it is just another repetitive love triangle. But I actually think the slow burn is exactly what is needed, because I feel like we are not just watching a love triangle. We are watching a psychological thriller wrapped in daytime drama, and the payoff is going to be legendary. When I saw that specific scene at the Quartermaine boathouse, the one where Michael Corinthos orchestrated the collision course between a bathing suit-clad Willow and Harrison Chase, my jaw practically unhinged. The way the afternoon sunlight caught the water behind them while Willow reached out to gently stroke Chase's arm was chillingly brilliant. It was not framed as a romantic reunion. It was framed as a predator playing with her food, and I'm completely obsessed with this villainous era for Willow. I genuinely think we are missing the point if we view Willow Kane as a victim in any of this. The way I see it, the writers have been meticulously planting the seeds for Willow's descent into absolute madness for years, and it is finally blooming. I loved the way the lighting shifted in that boathouse scene, casting a slight shadow over Willow's face as she looked up at her ex-husband. When she pitched that chief of staff position to him, asking him to move to Washington, D.C. to work for her, I actually gasped at my television screen. The sheer unadulterated audacity to look a married man in the eye, a man whose wife you are actively antagonizing, and offer him a job that requires him to be by your side constantly, is peak soap opera manipulation. I think this is the best they have written Willow, because she genuinely believes she's the heroine of her own story. In her twisted, fractured mind, she thinks she is merely being a supportive friend. She to her own toxicity, and I find her lack of self-awareness absolutely fascinating to watch. Every time I see Willow play the innocent, wide-eyed victim, I am immediately reminded of her dark, incredibly lethal history. I feel like we have to anchor her current behavior to her past to truly appreciate the genius of this writing. Let us not forget that this is the same woman who married a dying Harrison Chase out of pity, only to carry on an emotional and eventually physical affair with Michael Corinthos. This is the same woman who cheated on Michael with his own uncle Drew Kane, and now, as if that track record was not destructive enough, she is literally drugging Drew with a paralytic to keep him in a locked-in state, while she flirts with Chase at the boathouse. When Willow broke down in tears in front of Chase earlier this week, confessing that she is guilty of so much, and that she no longer wants to be married to Drew, I felt this overwhelming wave of dramatic irony. Chase is standing there comforting her with his classic unwavering hero complex, completely oblivious to the fact that the woman crying on his shoulder is actively committing a felony against her current husband. It is a masterclass in dramatic tension, and I am eating up every single second of it. And then, like a divine intervention of pure soapy perfection, Tracy Quartermaine walked by that boathouse. I cannot even begin to express how much joy Jane Elliott brings me in the storyline. When Tracy stopped in her tracks, took one look at Willow stroking Chase's arm, and immediately jumped to the absolute worst, yet entirely accurate conclusion. I cheered out loud in my living room. I think the writer's choice to have Tracy be the one to catch them instead of Brooklyn was brilliant, because it made me feel the generational weight of Quartermaine protectiveness. Tracy does not mince words in her delivery of the line, "Pack your little bags, and our lawyers will be in touch," was nothing short of iconic. Tracy Quartermaine is the moral compass we never knew we needed in this scenario. She sees right through Willow's sweet cult girl facade. Tracy knows exactly what emotional cheating looks like, and she is not about to let some doe-eyed manipulator destroy her granddaughter's marriage. I feel so deeply for Harrison Chase right now, even though his naivety is driving me absolutely up the wall. The way I interpret Chase's psychology in this moment is that he is suffering from a terminal case of white knight syndrome. He genuinely wants to believe the best in people, especially Willow, because admitting that she is a manipulative predator would mean admitting that his entire past relationship with her was built on a lie. When Chase faced off with Tracy defending himself and insisting that the interaction was innocent, I felt a profound sense of pity for him. I think Chase is absolutely right that he has no intention of divorcing Brooklyn, but here is why his dialogue backed up my take. He is completely missing the forest for the trees. He is so focused on defending his own honor that he cannot see the trap Willow is setting for him. It is incredibly tragic, and it makes the impending fallout all the more devastating. This brings me to the absolute powerhouse that is Brooklyn Quartermaine Chase. I feel like the writers are doing something incredibly special with Brooklyn right now. For the past year, we have seen her soften into the supportive, loving wife and a dedicated mother figure to baby Phoebe. She has embraced her Quartermaine heritage and the genteel lifestyle that comes with it. But underneath all those designer clothes and corporate deception, meetings the bets in her scrapper is still very much alive and Willow's poking the bear. When Brooklyn confided in someone, presumably Michael, which is a whole nother layer of brilliant twisted irony that Willow was going after her husband, the tension in her voice gave me chills. I loved the way Amanda sat and played that scene. Her jaw tight, her eyes flashing with a primal territorial instinct. Brooklyn is not just going to roll over and let Willow steal her husband. I believe the absolute best scene of this entire arc so far was when Brooklyn issued that fierce, uncompromising threat to Willow. When Brooklyn looked her dead in the eye and promised to ruin her political career if she did not back off, I felt an adrenaline rush. That was not an empty threat. That was Lois Cerullo's daughter stepping up to the plate. I know some fans are worried that Brooklyn is going to look insecure, paranoid. But I actually think her paranoia is completely justified, and it makes her so incredibly relatable. Brooklyn knows Willow's history. She knows that Chase's obsession with rescuing Willow cost him a demotion at the PCPD. Brooklyn is drawing a line in the sand, and I am entirely here for the inevitable explosive physical altercation that is brewing. If it comes down to a knockdown, drag-out catfight, Brooklyn is going to wipe the floor with her. And I think the canvas desperately needs that kind of visceral old-school soap opera confrontation right now. But what makes this entire dynamic an absolute masterpiece of television is the puppet master pulling the strings, Michael Corinthos. I am so fiercely loyal to this dark, vindictive version of Michael. The fact that Michael is actively setting up a cheating trap for his own wife and his former best friend just to blow up Brooklyn's marriage is the kind of Shakespearean toxicity I live for. Michael knows that Brooklyn was the driver who fled the scene of the accident that ruined Isaiah Gant and Hand. He knows Brooklyn is carrying this massive, crushing guilt, and he is using it to his advantage. When Michael arranged for Willow and Chase to run into each other at the boathouse, I felt this wicked sense of glee. Michael is using Willow's own treacherous nature against her, and he's using Chase's hero complex against him. Michael is playing three-dimensional chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And I think it is the most compelling character evolution we have seen from him in a decade. I feel like we also need to talk about how Brooklyn's secret is compounding her insecurity. When Portia Robinson came to the Quartermaine mansion asking for help with Isaiah's situation, the way Brooklyn tensed up was a masterclass in subtle acting. I think Brooklyn is terrified that her world is about to collapse. She is terrified that the hit-and-run secret will come out, that she will lose the adoption of baby Phoebe, and that Chase, with his rigid black and white moral code, will never forgive her for lying. That vulnerability is exactly what makes her so defensive against Willow. Brooklyn feels like she's standing on a trapdoor and Willow is holding the lever. It is a brilliant psychological layering by the writers, ensuring that the stakes in this love triangle are not just romantic, but existential. If Brooklyn loses Chase, she loses everything. And let us circle back to that phenomenal line from Tracy Quartermaine's A Good Judge of Character. That line is the thematic thesis of this entire storyline. I believe Tracy Quartermaine is the only person on this canvas who sees the board clearly. She knows that Willow's good girl routine is a weaponized facade. In my opinion, Tracy is going to be the ultimate catalyst for Willow's downfall. Tracy has already covered up the damage on Brooklyn's black BMW, making her an accomplice in the hit-and-run cover-up. She's fiercely protecting her granddaughter's family, and she will not hesitate to destroy Willow to keep Chase and Brooklyn together. I love the way Tracy looked at Chase after the boathouse incident, her eyes narrowing with a mix of disappointment and protective fury. She put Chase on probation, and I think that is exactly what he needs. Chase needs to realize that his marriage is a privilege, not a guarantee, and that his blind spot for Willow is a direct threat to his family. I know there is a vocal segment of the fandom complaining that Chase is being written as too dumb or too oblivious. But I actually think the slow realization is exactly what is needed because I feel like the betrayal has to sting. Chase is a detective. He is trained to see the facts, but when it comes to Willow, his emotional bias completely overrides his investigative instincts. When Chase warned Jacinda Barrett about Michael's manipulative nature, telling her that if Michael seems too good to be true, it is because he is, I literally screamed at my screen. The irony: Chase can see Michael's darkness perfectly clearly, but he is completely blind to the fact that Willow is cut from the exact same treacherous cloth. The way I interpret it, The writers are deliberately highlighting Chase's hypocrisy to make his eventual awakening that much more powerful. When Chase finally realizes that Willow has been drugging Drew and trying to manipulate him into an affair, the emotional devastation is going to be absolute cinema. The impending catfight between Brooklyn and Willow is what I'm looking forward to the most. I feel like daytime television has strayed away from the raw physical confrontations between women, opting instead for boardroom arguments and passive-aggressive remarks. But Brooklyn is a Bensonhurst scrapper. When the claws finally come out, it is not going to be a polite disagreement. I think the writer's choice to push Brooklyn to the absolute edge, threatening her marriage, her adopted child, and her freedom all at once, is designed to strip away her Quatermain refinement and unleash the fighter underneath. I want to see the hair pulling. I want to see the hissing. I want to see Brooklyn physically defend her territory because, in my opinion, Willow has pushed her far beyond the limits of reasonable communication. Willow's smug, quiet manipulation deserves a loud, chaotic reality check, and Brooklyn is the perfect character to deliver it. In conclusion, I am entirely, hopelessly in love with where this show is heading right now. The intricate web of lies, the psychological warfare, the history-infused character motivations, it is all working so flawlessly for me. I feel so incredibly invested in Brooklyn's fight to save her marriage. And I'm equally invested in watching Willow's spectacular self-inflicted destruction. The writers are honoring the history of these characters while pushing them into thrilling, uncharted territory. If you cannot see the genius in Michael's puppet master routine, Tracy's fierce protectiveness, or Willow's terrifying delusion, I genuinely think you are missing out on one of the greatest of daytime drama we have had in years. I cannot wait to see how this boathouse betrayal explodes. And you better believe I will be cheering for Brooklyn every single step of the way. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday and it is an absolutely beautiful day to dive into some soapy goodness. Grab your coffee, tea, or whatever gets you through the day because we have a lot to unpack from the latest trip to Port Charles. Let's get right into it. I literally cannot even process what I just watched. I am typing this at 2 a.m. because my brain is running on overdrive and I just need to scream into the void with people who actually get it. Are you kidding me right now? Liesl breeded in captivity with Jocelyn. I mean, we all knew Ross Cullen was completely unhinged. But pulling Liesl out of her car and throwing her into the Windmere dungeon like a sack of potatoes, I am losing my mind. This show just took a massive left turn, and I am both terrified and absolutely here for it. I've been watching this show since the early 2010s, and if there is one universal truth in Port Charles, it is that you do not mess with Dr. Lissel Orr, and can we talk about the sheer comedic and dramatic gold mine that is about to happen in that subbase? Jocelyn Jacks, who has been losing her mind trying to escape, suddenly getting a new roommate in the form of an unconscious Liesl. I swear the look on Jocelyn's face in the preview when she asked Cases, "What did you do to her?" gave me absolute chills because Josin knows she knows that if these monsters are willing to take down someone as notoriously lethal, brilliant and resourceful as lethal, then things have escalated to a point of no return. But honestly, I kind of love the idea of these two teaming up. Remember when Lisa was kidnapped back in the day? She is not a victim, she's a survivor. Once she wakes up and shakes off whatever Column injected her with, she's going to be breathing absolute fire. Join already has those makeshift shivs that Anna Dean left behind. And with Lissel's ruthless tactical mind, they're going to tear that dungeon apart. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. The real kicker here is Cash's, fake Nathan West. Am I the only one who realized the absolute psychological warfare that is about to go down when Lissel opens her eyes? She's going to wake up in a dark, damp cell, look up, and see the face of her beloved, deceased nephew, Nathan West. I cannot handle this. Remember when Peter August shot Nathan? Liesel's grief at his funeral was some of the most gut-wrenching, a phenomenal acting this show has ever produced. Now this twisted, cashless freak is walking around wearing his face, and Lissel is going to be the one to confront him. She's going to rip him to shreds emotionally before she even tries to do it physically. Cashes thinks he's got a bad now with Jocelyn hitting him with chairs. He has no idea what kind of storm he just walked into. So Jen Sidwell just casually strolls up to Cases and drops the bomb that locating Britt West is no longer a priority. My jaw hit the floor. Because of course, if you can't find Britt to finish this mysterious, twisted medical project, who is the next best thing? Her mother, the brilliant, morally flexible, utterly genius Dr. Lissel Ork. Ross Cullen ambushing her in her car is such a classic mob villain move, but it also shows how desperate they are. They need this project finished and they don't care who they have to destroy to get it done. I know some people are loving this super villain team-up of Sidwell and Cullum, But personally, I am so ready for them to go down. They are messing with the wrong women. You don't just swap out Brit for Lissel and expect Lissel to comply. She's going to synthesize a neurotoxin out of a rusty nail and a piece of mouldy bread and take out the entire Windmere Guard staff. Okay, back to the point. Let's talk about the takedown squad because Laura Collins and Sonny Corinthos are giving me life right now. Laura looking Sonny dead in the eye and telling him that they endured this nightmare together and they are gonna end it together. Chills. I mean, Laura has always been the moral compass of Port Charles, but she's also someone who knows how to play the game. She told Sonny straight up that they are not crossing deadly lines. They are going to neutralize Sidwell without killing him. But let's be real, this is Sonny Corinthos we're talking about. Do we really think Sonny is going to just tie a neat little bow on this and hand Sidwell over to the authorities? Nope. I give it 3 days before Sonny is holding a gun to Sidwell's head and Laura is screaming at him to lower it. Remember when they tried this dynamic years ago? Sonny always reverts to his mobster instincts when his family is threatened, but I kind of love seeing Laura try to rein him in. It's a fantastic dynamic, especially with Lucas Jones now officially part of their little revenge trio. And then we have the absolute mess that is Curtis Ashford. I'm sorry, but Curtis is working my last nerve right now. He attacks Isaiah Gannon, ruins the man's surgical career, jeopardizes Derek's transplant, and now he's acting like he's the victim. Make it make sense. Porsche is running around trying to do damage control, begging Isaiah to hold off on what looks like a massive civil lawsuit because of course Isaiah wants to sue him. I would too. Porsche is pleading with him to pump the brakes until the criminal case is resolved. But honestly, Curtis deserves whatever is coming to him. He has been so arrogant lately, refusing to take responsibility for his actions. And Porsche is just caught in the crossfire. Trying to keep her family from imploding while dealing with her own baby shower drama. I feel so bad for her. She's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders because her husband couldn't control his temper. And the collateral damage of all this Curtis drama is Trina, sweet, brilliant Trina Robinson. She is under so much stress with her art showcase. And now she has to deal with her dad facing felony charges and her mom having a total breakdown. Enter Kai Taylor. I know the fandom is kind of split on Kai right now, but I am really liking how he's stepping up for her. He notices she's drowning. He gets suspicious of her erratic behavior, and he actually pushes her to delegate tasks. He admits he's worried about her. It's so refreshing to see someone actually looking out for Trina's mental health instead of just dragging her into their own drama. Think about everything Trina has survived as May's framing Spencer's tragic death. Constant family secrets. I am definitely here for this connection with Kai, even if it's just this solid friends for now. Trina desperately needs a rock and Kai is proving that he can be that for her. But wait, let's circle back to Curtis because this man has the audacity to think he can just handpick his savior. He tells someone he wants a particular attorney to defend him. Let me guess, Alexis Davis, are you kidding me? Alexis has her own mountain of problems right now. She's dealing with Christina leaving. She's grieving Sam McCall and she's untangling Ethan Love's messy baby daddy drama with Phoebe. Why on earth would she want to take on a highly publicized, messy felony assault case for Curtis Ashford? I mean, I guess it makes sense so wise because Alexis is the best lawyer in town when she's actually practicing. But I just want her to say no. I want her to tell Curtis to face the music and hire Diana Rick Lansing. But knowing this show, she'll probably take the case out of some misplaced sense of loyalty, and it'll cause even more friction in her life. Speaking of Alexis's family, can we talk about Christina dropping her med school bombshell on Lucas Jones? I am still laughing at how absurd the storyline is, but I am fully embracing it because it's so incredibly soapy. Christina, who has never shown an ounce of interest in the medical field until 5 minutes ago, is just casually packing her bags for UCLA Med. Lucas's reaction is going to be absolutely priceless. He's an actual doctor who went through years of grueling, soul-crushing training, and his cousin is just like, yep, I'm going to be a doctor too. But honestly, Lucas is such a good guy. The spoilers say he's going to offer her advice and presumably congratulate her, which is sweet. He's probably just happy someone in this family is doing something positive instead of shooting people, running from the WSB or covering up murders. But Lucas has his own plate full right now. He's literally working with Sonny and Laura to take down an international criminal mastermind to avenge Marco Rios' death. So him taking a minute to sit down with Christina and give her med school advice is just wild to me. The whiplash of this show, 1 minute you're plotting a mob takedown in a coffee warehouse. The next you're discussing MCAT scores and stethoscopes at Bobby's. I love it, I really do. But I'm also dreading Christina's actual exit. Kate Menney has been phenomenal in this role. and watching her say goodbye to everyone is going to wreck me. Alexis is going to completely fall apart. She already lost Sam and now Christina is moving across the country. Someone, please check on Alexis Davis because that woman is about to shatter into a million pieces. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here because the canvas is absolutely loaded right now. Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum are running rampant and their web is getting so tangled. They have Join locked up. They have Lissel unconscious in a cell. They're hunting Britt and Rocco. They're blackmailing Jack Brennan at Turning Woods. It feels like every single major character is tied into this one massive storyline. And I am praying that the writers stick the landing. When you have this many moving parts, it's so easy for things to get sloppy. But bringing Lissel Orc into the center of the Windmere dungeon plot, that is a masterstroke. Liesel is the wild card they didn't account for. Cullum thinks he can just force her to finish Britt's project, but he clearly hasn't read her WSB file. You do not put Lissel Orr in a cage and expect her to do her homework. Do we really think Lissel is going to sit quietly in a lab and mix chemicals for the man who ambushed her? Absolutely not. Like I said, she's going to weaponize everything in that room, and with Jocelyn there to help her. This is going to be an epic breakout. I can already see the scenes. Liesel barking orders in German. Josen sneaking through the air ducts with Anna Shiv. Cash is having a full-blown identity crisis in the corner. It's going to be cinematic. I am counting down the days until this airs. The dynamic between an older, a hardened survivor like Lissel and a fierce, stubborn younger woman like Jocelyn is exactly the kind of character pairing this show excels at. They are going to drive each other crazy, but they are going to get out of there. And honestly, my prediction for Cash is I think Liesel is going to break him, not physically but mentally. She is going to use his face against him. She's going to talk about Nathan, about his goodness, about how much she loved him. And it's going to completely short-circuit Casey's brain. He's already getting alienated by Sidwell and Cullum. They're keeping him in the dark, treating him like a disposable lackey. Once Cassie's realizes he's expendable and once Liesel starts working her psychological magic, I bet Casey's flips. I bet he turns on Sidwell and helps them escape. You heard it here first. I'm calling it right now. Cash's is going to have a redemption arc fueled by Lissel Orra's guilt trips. So yeah, I am running on fumes, way too much caffeine and pure adrenaline right now. This week is shaping up to be one of the best weeks of General Hospital we've had in a long time. The stakes are sky high, the character dynamics are perfectly messy, and I am strapped in for the ride. I know some people are complaining about the packing of the Windmere hostage plot, but personally I think this slow burn is paying off beautifully now that the pieces are colliding. What do you guys think? Are you ready for the Liesel and Johnson team-up? Do you think Curtis is going to beat these felony charges or is he headed for Steinmau? And will Alexis actually take his case? Let me know in the comments because I desperately need to talk about this with people who understand my obsession. Until next time, stay soapy.